Good morning. I'm so glad to see you all this morning. I'm Joel Miller. I am the interim minister here at the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am so pleased to welcome you here this morning on this day when the rain is about to arrive. I hear in great quantities, and I'm glad we missed it for this morning. It's such a busy time of year, so many different holidays, I love that we can celebrate so many things. You know, Christmas has always been a big part of Unitarianism and Universalism. I liked it that our music director, Michael Rosen, was just playing. You were playing kind of a little bit of a jingle bellsy kind of thing, riff there at the end. Did I hear that right?
Mixed with some of the Jewish folk tunes.
Yeah, okay. Around with some Jewish music as well, right? Of course, because today we're going to be thinking about Hanukkah. On good days, I love how we get to be part of a movement of different religions appreciating one another. In fact, Unitarians and Universalists were some of the founders of the National Council of Churches over now 100 years ago. Once all the churches did get themselves together, one of the first things they did decide to do was kick us out. You know, human beings, sometimes, you know, we kind of forget what it is to be together and practice our many religions and do it in a way that we are affirming all of life on earth. It kind of reminds me of an old story I heard. A ship captain saw some smoke coming off of a small island, and when they steered a little closer, because it didn't say anything about human habitation on this island, they saw a guy waving at them like this, and they said, must be somebody who's lost at sea, and they're a castaway on an island. So they went over, and the captain and some of the sailors rolled over to the island to pick the guy up, and they saw there were 3 huts. And the captain said, "Are you the only one, or are there other people here?" And he said, "No, I'm the only one." "Oh, well, there's 3 huts." "Oh, yeah, that hut I live in, that's my house, and that's where I go to church." "What's the 3rd hut?" asked the captain. "I used to go to that church, not anymore." Sometimes I feel like I'm that story in my own head. We, as Unitarian Universalists, our aspiration is to live by love and to live in a way that brings all of the world into peace. And we'll be thinking a lot about that today, a day in which we are acknowledging our connections and roots in Judaism and celebrating Hanukkah. Good morning and welcome.
Welcome again. It is so wonderful to have this room filled this morning. I too am grateful that the rain didn't keep us away so far, so I'm happy that we are here. Let me make sure where are my announcements? My name is Nick Walrick. I'm the Director of Religious Education for those of you who are new and visiting or visiting with us online. Do I have my announcements? Oh, here they are. I found them. I got them. Sorry. And I, again, want to welcome you. We have a couple of announcements in the fellowship, or in the Great Hall. We have a little gift sales set up there for different organizations. The proceeds of those items go towards the organization, so talk to the folks out there who are selling, and they'll tell you all about them. One I was talking to is helping girls in Nepal, and they have some really cool little trinkets there and make some great gifts in there as well. Today at 11:45 in the parlor, which is the room across from the library to the left in the Great Hall there, will be our mindfulness meditation session, which is good for beginners and lifelong practitioners of mindfulness meditation. A great time to center yourself in there. Also at 11:45, which is after the service, in the dining room there will be a presentation and discussion on policy governance, form of our board that is moving towards a different way of kind of running the church and a structure in there, and so you can ask them all the questions, and they'll tell you all about it over in the dining room, which is as you walk out to the right. There's also going to be a coffee hour in the terrace room, which you might notice looks a little different today, and as the building continues to move on and grow, it's pretty awesome in there. And you can see the maps and the blueprints about what the building's going to be like, and you can kind of start to see what it looks like is out there. So we're all very excited about that. And then our last announcement for today, and then we'll get on with our service, is that on Friday, this coming Friday, the Folk Project, who meets here in this room every Friday to present different folk music, will be hosting their holiday benefit show at 7:30, and the recipient of that benefit show is us here at the Fellowship. So we hope that folks who enjoy folk music and the Fellowship will turn out for that event particularly. 7:30, tickets are $12 when you show up. So those are our announcements today, and we will move towards the lighting of our chalice here. Yeah. There we go. Let us together say in the ritual that we always do, love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Yeah. And our music director will lead us off with some music here. Tim.
It's number 1008 in the Green Book.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart will love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, who will trust the will to change of us, every color, every creed and God, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. Our heart is in a holy place, a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the love and love deep inside, and we listen to the loving God, and we hear our voices in each other's thought. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, it's in a sacred space, and the God of our hearts lives, and we feel the power in each other's faith, and our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place.
I'd like to invite any children, youth, or people who are young at heart, if you'd like to come up and help me with the time for all ages this morning. Come on all the way up. Let's stand up here by our chalice table. So this is sometimes called a menorah. It's for Hanukkah. That's exactly right. And I put the candles in, I think, in the correct order. It's backwards if you're looking at it from this direction. And in the center is the shamus candle. And we're going to light these in just a moment. But I want to tell you a story. Let me tell you the story first, and I'll answer your question afterward. And the story is about a Jewish boy. He lived in a place called Billings, Montana. And he had a menorah like this in his bedroom window. And while he was home with the babysitter one day, his mom and dad hadn't come back from work yet, someone threw a brick through his bedroom window and smashing the menorah. Now it was kind of scary, and the family didn't know what to do. But the family, it was a Jewish family, and sometimes Jewish folks know that there are some people who don't like them just because they're Jewish. Just like sometimes there are people who don't like Unitarian Universalists just because we're Unitarian Universalists. It's kind of like the guy in the story I told. Some people get a little focused on what's wrong with the other folks rather than what's right with themselves, Well, the family was afraid, but then a bunch of people in this town, Billings, got together, and they said, we want our Jewish neighbors to feel loved. And you know what they all did? They all started making menorahs like this. Are they buying menorahs just like this? Within a few weeks, there were like 8,000 different houses in Billings, Montana that had menorahs in their windows for that year, because the people in Billings wanted their neighbors to feel safe. And those weren't all Jewish people. Those were almost all other people like Unitarian Universalists and Christians and Muslims and Buddhists, people of other faiths. I've always really liked that story a lot. A menorah is something that Jewish people light on Hanukkah, and it remembers a different story from long ago when in the temple, they'd just gotten back the temple after some fighting against an empire, but they didn't have enough light to keep the sacred light going in the temple, or at least they thought. But then 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 8 days, the candle stayed lit.
So that's why there's 9 candles.
That's right.
8 days of it.
Yes.
This candle right here is always used to, there's 9 candles, but 8 days. But because this candle is used to light every single other candle.
That's right. Thank you. That's exactly right. Well, would you like to light the shamus candle for me then? You can light it from there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shisha nasim la'avotenu v'mipotenu bayamim hahayim bazman hazeh. We say that when we light the shamus candle, the helper candle. Would you like to light this candle right here? You're doing good. Hold it there for a little bit. There, you got it. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Happy Hanukkah. And thank you for coming up and helping me light the menorah for Hanukkah today. It's also our ritual every Sunday to light a chalice, to shine a light as a symbol of the enlightenment that we offer one another by being in community. And to remember to practice love, truly the only light that's durable and enduring in this world. We have a special candle to light this morning. It's also the tradition when a member of the congregation dies, or a past member of the congregation dies, to light a candle and remember those members. In this case, former fellowship member Miklos Miki Salgo died on November 29th. He lived in California. He had a PhD and was an infectious disease specialist. He was a part of early breakthrough for medicines to fight HIV here at Hoffman La Roche before Hoffman La Roche moved to California. His family donated the largest Hungarian art collection outside of Central Europe to Rutgers University in 2006. The art was collected by his father. Mickey is survived by his wife, Roxanne Salgo, who was a teacher in our religious education program, and a son, Seth, who graduated from our religious education program. We light this candle for Mickey Salgo. And passage, Dave Zugale. He's in the hospital. Cards of support addressed to Dave are most appreciated. And his family's asked for support with soups or casseroles. And is Diane here, or some of our pastoral care associates? Yeah, there's Paul. And Carolyn, I know, is back there. So if you could help out with that, let them know, or drop me or the office a line. And this morning we have a special gratitude, and this is one that I think should be shared by our board president, Paul Firm.
Thank you, Joel. I'm Paul Firm, the president of the Board of Trustees. Our team managing our building project is appropriately called Gateways, because that is what they're trying to help us to open new gateways for the community. The Gateways team is beyond delighted this week, and so very grateful to announce that the fellowship has been awarded a grant of $50,000. This is under the New Jersey Economic Development Authority for small business improvements. This grant is part of the COVID Relief Act of 2021. And it reimburses the fellowship for the $50,000 of costs, some of the costs that we incurred for improvements we made to the Oval and to the front entrance of our building. And we are now that much closer to our capital campaign goals. So we really wanted to share that with you all. At our June 4th annual meeting, with pledges of $3.5 million already in place, we all voted to proceed with the construction of the addition, to authorize the Deeper Roots, Wider Wings Capital Campaign team to continue fundraising the additional $1.25 million to meet our goal, and to authorize a residual mortgage as needed. So as of today, we've raised $740,000 of that $1.25 million through your generous gifts, and now including this grant from New Jersey. This leaves a need of $146,000 to fund a building with a residual mortgage of $400,000, and even better, further fundraising of $546,000 is going to let us pay for the whole building in cash. So I just am so happy to be here to announce that. I wanted to thank Reverend Joel. Reverend Joel brought this opportunity to us last year. We didn't know about it. I want to thank Helene Firm. She did all the planning and writing of the grant proposals, showing how the Oval fits our state's requirements for a project to improve access to our fellowship ground for a wider community. And it also supported the state's economy during the COVID years. So there's a reason this money was given to us. And thanks to Katie Julie, our administrator, who worked really closely with Helene. There was a mountain of paperwork to be done to verify and validate to the state And our Visbing construction team, the one we're also using for our building here, actually put a lot of time aside to help us with that as well. And finally, of course, thank you all, every one of you, for supporting the Oval Project, which spoke so loudly of your trust in the Gateways team when you did that during COVID. It was heard loud and clear to improve our grounds for the future for Levi and Parker here, who I just met, who I was really excited to meet. So happy Hanukkah and merriest of Christmases to everyone. Please rest, enjoy food and friends, and have a wonderful New Year coming up. The Capital Campaign team is going to take a break with y'all and enjoy the same time. And in January, really powered by this exciting news, we will be renewing our moving forward push to do this final fundraising. Please be ready to accept their calls and accept a visit and when they contact you. So we're so grateful to you all, and blessed be.
Just a personal gratitude for your generosity, for your depth of commitment to each other and to the larger community and the ministry you have to the people of Morristown and people of the world. You make such a difference in each other's lives and in this world. On behalf of my family and so many others, thank you. Spirit of life. In the busyness of the season, let's remember, help me remember, to take a breath when it gets so busy, to take a breath when I feel overwhelmed by all that there is, to take a breath when maybe I'm hearing just a few too many Christmas carols on the radio or in the store overhead speakers. Take a breath. Perhaps light a candle in the way we lit the Hanukkah candles, remembering each flame is a miracle. An ancient story when the Holy Temple was rededicated, the faith of a people recentered after a struggle for freedom. And out of 1 day's worth of oil, the candle burned for 8 days. In the way that hope can light a flame much past the energy we think that's possible. Let's also recall the miracle of light in the season of darkness. Let's rededicate ourselves to the miracle of being trusting in a time of fear, to the miracle of practicing hope when we feel despair, to the miracle of sharing faith in a time of cynicism and lies. Let's rededicate ourselves to the miracle of wholeness in a time when the world seems to be breaking apart, to the miracle of courage in times of violence, to the miracle of resistance in a time of oppression, to the miracle of joy in a time of feeling overwhelmed. When so much in these difficult times would pull us apart, call us from our joys, have us imagining that something other than love can save us. Let us rededicate ourselves to that miracle of love and to this amazing life we share. Amen. So be it. Blessed be.
Good morning, everybody. As you all know now very well, that we are in the middle of Hanukkah, and you'll see a few things coming up. We have Mia Malel, number 222 hymn, and then the offertory, the choir singing Sivivon and Hine Matov. So that's all Hebrew. Those are two wonderful short Hebrew folk tunes that we're pairing together. We're going to help each other in this. I mean, I know this quite well, but I know the Hebrew much better than I know the English. So we're going to start with English, and those who would like the challenge could sing the Hebrew with me. It's the first time through English, second time through Hebrew. Please stand if you feel so moved.
Who can retell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age the hero or sage of all our aid. Who can retell the well? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage can do our aid. At this time of year in days of yore, time of year in days of yore, Maccabees the temple did restore. And today our people as we dream will arise, unite and be redeemed. Mi Himmelel Gvurot Israel Otan Mi Himne Hein Bekel Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel Mi Himmelel Gvurot Israel Otan Mi Himne Hein Bekel Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel Shema Bayamim HaMezman Ma'azeh Maccabi Moshio Ufodeh Bayamim Amen Bazman Hazeh Uvyamenu Kol Am Israel Yitashid Yakum Ahigayel Mi Himmelel Gvurot Israel Otan Mi Himne Hein Bekel Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel Mi Himmelel Gvurot Israel Otan Mi Himne Hein Bekel Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel
Very nice.
I have two readings for this morning. The first is by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl survived as a prisoner in 4 different Nazi concentration camps from 1942 to 45. He published a book about his experiences called Man's Search for Meaning. I'm very sure he would call that Our Human Search for Meaning or something non-gendered at this point in time. And his book has remained in print through our own Unitarian Universalist book publisher, Beacon Press. Frankl wrote about how a prisoner would live with the violence in the camps and how they choose to practice hope would make the difference in their survival. He wrote, "A human who becomes conscious of their responsibility toward a human being who waits for them with affection or waits for an unfinished work will never be able to throw away their life. They know the why for their existence. They will be able to bear almost any how." He was talking about a kind of hope, a distinct hope from just having hope. In fact, my recommendation to you from what Viktor Frankl also was recommending, having hope is not helpful. It can descend easily into wishful thinking. Practice hope. And practicing hope is being there for one another and being there for the possible world that's ahead. In the second reading, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who was writing about Hanukkah, there were times when any other people would have given up in despair after the destruction of the temple, or the massacres of the Crusades, or the Spanish expulsion, or the pogroms, or the Shoah. But Jews did not sit and weep. They gathered what remained. We rebuilt our people and lit a light like no other in history. We lit a light that tells us and tells the world of the power of the human spirit to overcome every tragedy and to refuse to accept defeat. We take our offering now. It will be split 50-50 with Nourish, New Jersey, helping to solve the problems of hunger, hopelessness, and poverty. Instructions for how you can donate are in the order of service and the order of service online.
Bim bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, Bim bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Bim 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 bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. Bim 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 bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. Bim bim bim
I've been unexpectedly frazzled this morning, and I think it's because I realize that my beloved at this very moment is in the pulpit as an interim minister for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Huntington on the North Shore of Long Island. And she's sharing some memories today as a Jewish person about her own experiences of anti-Semitism. I'm not Jewish, but growing up Unitarian Universalist meant that I grew up with people who were both Unitarian Universalist and Jewish, and I grew up with people who were both Unitarian Universalist and Palestinian. Two of my dearest friends, neither of them actually Unitarian Universalists, one of them Jewish, one of them Palestinian during my high school years. Somehow they would manage to come to my birthday parties, or we would go to events all together with our other friends. But talking about Israel and Palestine, even in the late 1970s, was difficult and fraught. Now, I'm a white guy, for all the bad and the good that comes with that. All of my ancestors, save one, all of my ancestors came to North America before 1776. All but two, I believe, came to be colonizers to take land. I know at least 4 or 5 of them settled not too far from here and were busy pushing the Lenape off of the land they'd lived in for millennia. Some of my ancestors enslaved other people. At least one ancestor had a father who owned his mother. In the UU church I grew up in, we used to have one holiday service, and we would celebrate a whole bunch of holidays in this one holiday service. It was usually on Christmas Eve, and we would do Christmas, but we would also do Hanukkah, even if Hanukkah had been long over. We might do Diwali, even if it had been long over. And we'd sneak in some earth-based spirituality around the solstice. We always had to sneak it in because there were some folks who, they could do Diwali, they could do Hanukkah. They weren't so sure about Christianity, except that they really liked the carols, but But the solstice, they just got really upset about. I never really quite understood that. I just adored the women who mentored me in feminist theology and were very much into the solstice. I loved Hanukkah because, well, I loved what it did for my Jewish friends, an important holiday. It isn't an especially important holiday in Judaism in general, but if you're an American Jew, it's really nice to have something where you're doing something with lights and you're celebrating when you're hearing Christmas music everywhere and there's little manger scenes of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph and Christmas lights. And it helps keep the season festive and keeps one connected. The history of Hanukkah, though, is a bit more complicated than that, because the story is of scrappy rebels. They recaptured the sacred temple in Jerusalem from the Greek Empire and somehow got the sacred oil to last 8 days. First time I actually studied Hanukkah in theological school, I was like, well, this is more like the Jewish 4th of July than anything. The Maccabees were the name of the folks that rebelled against the Greek Empire. But they weren't just rebelling against the Greek Empire. They were also rebelling against the Jewish leadership and the upper-class Jews who had begun to learn to speak Greek and were doing a lot of business with Greeks and other cultures. And the Maccabees didn't like this assimilation. They didn't like this mix of other cultures with what they understood to be Judaism. And so for them, fighting it was to go back to the true Judaism. So when the Maccabees pushed out the Greek Empire, they established a very conservative and religiously dogmatic state. And that state lasted for about 250 years. Long in American years, not so long in world years. After 250 years, the Roman Empire came along and they destroyed this conservative Jewish state. They destroyed the temple and they scattered much of the Jewish leadership. And it's very interesting to me, especially, that the Judaism that thrived after Imperial Rome's conquest of the Jewish homeland, the Judaism that thrived did not look like the Judaism of the conservative Maccabees. It was Greek-speaking Jews. In history, they're called Hellenized Jews. Hellenized Judaism was scattered all over the world. There were communities all over the world, synagogues, places where Jews met, understood the culture around them, maybe spoke the language, but kept true to the Jewish spirit they had alive within them. This past year, I've been thinking a lot about how Judaism survived not just 2,000 years since the Roman Empire did away with the Jewish state, but 5,000 years with a lot of other empires going back and forth, forcing Jewish people into exile, allowing them to come back after many years. And I'm kind of interested in that because not just about a week ago, I was reading and realizing half my neighbors in the United States, half my fellow Americans really want to elect next year a lying, cheating, sadistic man to be an American dictator. And I don't get it. And I confess I'm far enough on the left that if you were to call me woke, I would be very proud and complimented. I only aspire to be woke. I don't think I'm actually there yet in the good sense of the term. But I do miss those old style Unitarian Republicans. I don't know how many of you might have known some of those guys, those people. They were liberal Republicans. I don't think that's much of a thing anymore now. Liberal Republicans who could thoughtfully point out that in the last 5,000 years, those cultures and nations that endured, they weren't the nations of empires. They weren't a people guided by a one true dictator, and they weren't theocracies. All of those would come and go. Remarkably, what endures across the vicissitudes of time, that's a big word, what endures across all the changes of time are those groups that practice love, that practice connection of family and community, and are adaptable to the world around them, like 5,000 years of Judaism. 5,000 years the Jewish people have endured, and what's come and gone around them are glorious empires, glorious dictators, the one true truth theocracies. They eventually, if they don't decay from within, another one comes along to destroy them. I attended the online Shabbat service of the Unitarian Universalists for Jewish Awareness this past Friday. Your previous called minister, Reverend Allison Miller, no relation to me, was helping to lead the service. I was there to support my fiance. I was there to support my Jewish colleagues and friends. I was also there for myself. I know it's been a painful fall for Unitarian Universalists who are also Jewish. I've been brokenhearted by the anti-Semitic violence of Hamas. Hamas is, not sure if they're exactly a theocratic dictatorship, but they were certainly a terroristic government. The terror inflicted on the Jewish people was terrible. And I've been equally heartbroken by the violent and cruel invasion of Gaza by the authoritarian and theocratic wing of the government of Israel. And I was very, very disappointed in my government this week, which vetoed a United Nations resolution to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. And I should point out that the Jewish Unitarian Universalists I know and spoke with on Friday and others I've spoken with agree with everything I just said. My view is I wish my government would force the resignation of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a war criminal, a sadist. He and his right-wing settlers are practicing genocide. They belong in jail, not in power. Strong words, I know. Oh, not in my script, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm also kind of maybe old school enough as an Appalachian that my tax dollars are going to those guys. Really? I have a say. All right, I'll stop. So what's made me most frazzled, though, most frazzled in the moment, is that some of my Unitarian Universalist colleagues have been talking about these terrible events in Gaza and Israel. And they've been speaking with approval about those terror attacks on October 7th, which has been breaking my heart, definitely breaking the hearts of Jewish Unitarian Universalists. Some of those colleagues and some other Unitarian Universalists have even said Israel does not have a right to exist. Israel is a colonial state founded on the suffering of the Palestinian people. Where they come up with that analysis, I don't understand. It's a land of Semitic peoples, so it feels like somebody's overlaying an American theoretical system on a different land rather than a good understanding of what's going on. But I think the most disturbing, the part I'm most upset about, is hearing colleagues who speak in support of Hamas. Now I want to speak in favor of peace and against the terrible suffering of the people in Gaza. It's not right. But they have been subject to a horrible government. Few of them wanted it. And I don't understand why my colleagues are supporting it, supporting that terroristic government. My own fiance, being Jewish, is telling stories. One story in particular that I'll share. As a child in elementary school, a group of white Christian kids attacked her, forced her to the ground, covered her in tar from a construction site, all while screaming anti-Semitic curses at her. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at sitting Shiva with some family of hers and listening to some really astounding stories of people, of American Jewish people, and stories that were similarly painful. Senator Charles Schumer gave a speech last week. He said, "Can you blame us Jews for feeling vulnerable? Only 80 years after Hitler wiped out half the Jewish population across the world, all while many countries turned their back. Can you appreciate the deep fear we have about what Hamas would do if left to their own devices?" The long arc of Jewish history teaches us a lesson that is hard to forget. We are ultimately alone. Senator Schumer went on to refer to 5,000 years of dictators, kings, empires, theocracies. They like to scapegoat Jewish people. So when they're busy doing their empire thing or whatever they do, they have a long and repetitive history of blaming the Jews, just to say it very simply, and then either force Jewish people into exile, force them to convert to Christianity or some other faith, or kill them. So, not to go too much more into depth with it, Rome in the year 56, France in the year 612, Germany in 1279, France again in 1306, 1322, 1359, Spain in 1492, Germany in 1279, France again, Spain, Italy in 1593, Russia in 1791. Nearly every Muslim nation expelled their Jewish citizens between 1950 and 1970. And all the time that these expulsions and pogroms and Shoah happened, the empires, the dictators, the kings and queens blamed the Jews for problems they themselves caused because of their corruption, because of their dictatorial stupidity, because of their immorality. A theoretical writer of history, a philosopher named Hannah Arendt, wrote a book called The Origins of Totalitarianism. It described these patterns happening over and over again and how they look. And that you know when a government starts to turn towards, or political leaders turn towards anti-Semitic, these old anti-Semitic prejudices, you know that they are also working hard to overthrow democracy and to replace it with authoritarianism or totalitarianism. I can't do the philosophy, the thinking justice in a sermon, but what happens then when my colleagues will themselves start turning towards some of these old anti-Semitic terms, not even realizing they're using them, not even knowing that they're doing it. It's just sort of, it somehow comes out of the culture. Jews among us ask, am I going to be safe here? Will I be loved? And what is the central part of our theology or our spiritual practice or philosophy but to put love first, to love all people above ideologies? And as Viktor Frankl said, not to have hope, but to practice hope out of our love for the world and each other. To continue to hope, to light candles and celebrate and feel joy, no matter the horrors that surround us. To be together, perhaps like the group Standing Together, a coalition of Jews and Palestinians in Israel, and they are saying together, not in our name, Jews and Palestinians loving each other across incredible boundaries. Practicing hope is learning about anti-Semitism as well as Islamophobia, speaking out when we hear of violence against Jews or Palestinians or Muslims. It might be lighting a menorah and putting it into your window, even though, like me, you have no biological Jewish connection in your heritage. The lesson from Hanukkah is not that by resisting with violence and creating a government of a one true truth that we will endure, maybe for 250 years, some groups do. Most do not. They fall apart pretty quickly. The Hanukkah story is fundamentally about hope, living from love of others, of self, of the holy, practicing hope from that, even in the face of incredible odds. What Jonathan Sacks said, there were times when any other people would have given up in despair. After the destruction of the temple, or the massacres of the Crusades, or the expulsion or pogroms, or the Shoah, Jews did not sit and weep. They gathered what remained, rebuilt our people, and lit a light like no other in history that tells us in the world of power that the human spirit will overcome every tragedy and refuse to accept defeat. This congregation and other UU congregations are privileged and gifted with connections to their Jewish people and Jewish traditions they have brought. And the menorah candles today speak to the love and the hope that we have that exists in the beams and the roof decking going up just outside of us, a world that needs to see us endure from that love with that hope. Rabbi Sacks said, that glimmer of light surrounded by so many shadows can say without words, evil has not yet dominated. A spark of hope is still left. Let us be the light of hope in the world that needs it. Let us mourn every lost life. Let us speak out against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Let us continue to side with all people. In the words of a rabbi and friend, Dennis and Sandy Sasso, may our celebration of lights usher a new morning and a new year of peace, and usher in a future of possibilities and hope.
Please stand if you'd like.
People looking
top. Because it's just so good. One more time through.
When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the light turns amber like a sunset. Still, it provides light. Still, it provides heat. Still can kindle a new flame and pass its glow on to new illumination. When sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transform all, when the candle dims, all must not be lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true. Hope continues like candlelight, always ready to spark again. All is not lost. Take this light with you. Go in peace, be in peace. We will be together again. Amen.